We've started. Sorry, getting a little behind here. Cleaning up here at Happy Acres Campground in Indiana, and wanted to bring you a video talking specifically about our Brinkley. Now that we've had it for coming up on 10,000 miles, we're around 8,000 miles on this Brinkley, which we took delivery of just before summer and have been traveling all summer. I thought it was a good time to start doing a little review, tell you how it's going, tell you what we think of it, what we like, what we don't like. And I thought there was no better place to do that than while we're sitting here at Happy Acres Campground, as I said, in Indiana. But I digress. Let's get on to talking about the Brinkley. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a few videos that kind of go over the pluses and minuses. And today's going to be, well, one of those negative videos, in that I'm going to go over the 10 things that I think Brinkley just got wrong in designing this RV. Now, Brinkley has come out the gate saying they're trying to do stuff different. And I bought one, so I clearly think that they are doing stuff a little different. But there's some things that they could still improve upon. And I will give them credit. They take customer feedback and they actually implement changes as they go along. Matter of fact, there were some things I was going to put on here that they're no longer Apple because Brinkley's already changed them. But these are 10 things that drive us crazy. One of them is specific just to the 3610. That's the mid-bunk model. They call it the bonus room model. But the rest of them are probably all the Z lines. Then we're done with that. We've had a lot of comments. And by a lot of comments, I mean one, asking us how it's held up over time. And so our next video, we're going to go through what broke, what didn't, what stayed good, what held up, how did it do, comparing it to our last RVs at similar mileage, and what you could expect if you get one. And that'll be our next video, and we're going to release it fairly soon after this one. First thing, and I almost think, what was Brinkley thinking on this one? And this is the one that is unique only to this model, the bunk room model. And that's the placement of the slide switch. For reasons I don't think I'll ever understand, the slide switch for the bunk room in the 3610 is actually the same type of switch as the light switch. So of course, we put it right next to the light switch. Now, think about this. This is the bunk room. And I have trouble with this, but think about kids. Kids are standing here, they get up in the middle of the night, they go to throw on the light, they're gonna hit the slide switch 9 times out of 10. They're just gonna hit it and it's gonna start moving the slide, and one kid's already asleep in the bunk, it starts moving. You can imagine the issues this is gonna cause, and it's ridiculous. Some owners have already started 3D printing little boxes that go around it and selling them on Etsy and stuff, and there's cures, but I don't understand it, especially since the switches to all the other slides are less than 12 inches away inside a panel, including a similar switch for the main bedroom. So it just makes no sense to me. Why did they put that one there? Poor design. I'm sure Brinkley will figure that one out and get it fixed. But that brings us right to that same cabinet. The cabinet that has all the other slides in it also contains one thing I don't understand why it's in there. It's the same type of switch, but it's for the lights. To turn on the lights in this main room, you have to actually open the cabinet, and the physical switch is in the cabinet. Now this is kind of odd because the little button switches that you can use on the control panel that can also turn on the power to the light or turn it on, it's also in the cabinet. So I don't know why you'd put the physical switch in there as well. You should just put the physical switch out here. They did it with other switches, where they just have them right here. Why didn't they put that one out here? So every time I want to turn on the main lights out here, I have to go open the cabinet door, flip it on, shut the cabinet door. Doesn't sound like a lot. You're like, oh, that's why you complain about that. But it actually gets really annoying. Don't know why that switch isn't outside like all the other light switches. While we're on it and we're talking about switches, let's talk about my number 3 thing. My number 3 thing is there is no porch light on this RV. I've had lots of RVs over the years. We just had a Lance that we had for 4 years. Before that, we had a Winnebago, and I've had more way before that, going all the way back for decades. And what I will tell you is every single RV I've ever had or been in has had a porch switch, the little light next to the door where you come in and out. This is the first one that doesn't have it. Doesn't have it at all. I figure that part of that is the awning lights can light up the outside, and they're visible even when the awning's in, so maybe they're thinking that that's good enough. Though the awning lights, that's not the same thing as a porch light. And I've had that on all the other RVs that also had porch lights. You can also turn on the lights under the camper, which is another issue because there's no switch inside to do it. You have to go outside to the storage compartment, or the basement as people call it, and flip on the light there. It seems like that switch should be inside. And then, that'll give you, at least coming down the stairs, you'll have a little bit of light. But there's no porch light. Now, what I think happened here is I think Brinkley, they said they looked at the most common warranty issues and they're trying to minimize things that could go wrong with your camper. And I imagine they eliminated the porch light because that's just one more hole in the camper, one more leak point, etc. But if you're going to eliminate one, I wouldn't eliminate the porch light. But number 4 goes right along with that porch light because I think it was eliminated for the same reason, and that has to do, if I can reach back here and talk at the same time, that has to do with our microwave vent. Every RV I've ever had until this one has had either a vented microwave or a vented hood over the stovetop. And that's really important in an RV for a couple of reasons. One, if you're boiling a pot of pasta, you're putting a lot of moisture in the air, and having that vent right over it will suck that moisture right outside instead of getting that condensation and moisture, which is really bad for your RV, in the RV. Also keeps the smells of cooking, they can really build up in a small space, keeps them outside. I've also just found it handy to flip on or turn on when we're doing, trying to get some moisture out and I don't want to turn on the big fans. I imagine the outdoor vent was eliminated because it was one more potential place you could have a leak. Makes sense. The problem is, I think that's a really necessary vent hole. It really shouldn't be without it. Remember, there's a reason every RV has that. The only RV I've ever had that hasn't had that was a pop-up. I'm sure the thought process, don't put that hole there. We're already they have a max air fan right above us, and you can use it. There's a couple problems with that. One, it's not right above the stovetop, so I don't think it's quite as effective, though it will suck everything out. 2, as delivered, you can't use that vent in the rain. It'll close, allegedly automatically. Ours actually didn't work the first time. We got rain everywhere. But it closed automatically if it starts raining because there's no vent cover on it. Now, I highly recommend putting a Max Air Deluxe in. I put one of those in my Lance, and they are by far the superior fan. But given they had a Max Air here, I didn't swap it out for a Deluxe yet. I just bought the rain cover shield to put it on so we could use it even when it's raining. Otherwise, every time it rains, you couldn't cook. Which is funny, because when do people cook inside their RV and not outside? When it's raining. So, really bad thought process, in my opinion. I think, design-wise, Brinkley got it wrong there. Now, my 5th one is me being a little picky. And it has to do with what the roof is made out of. My last camper spoiled me. We had a Lance with a PVC roof. And that PVC roof was really, really felt solid. No matter how dirty it got, you could go out there and clean it and it would look brand new. It just really is a nice roofing material. It doesn't wrinkle, it doesn't crease. It's just really nice. And if you do get a hole in it, you can literally put another piece of PVC on it. Real easy to repair. It's not a big deal. This one has a TPO roof. A TPO roof is different from a PVC roof. It is more like a rubber roof. It feels and looks like a rubber roof. It has the texture of a rubber roof. Seems to collect dirt more. It seems a little harder to clean off. Not as bad as a rubber roof, but not as good as a PVC roof. And it has a tendency to wrinkle up. When it gets hot, you'll see wrinkles in it. And since the slides are made out of the same thing, I worry about those wrinkles coming in and out underneath the slides and whether that will hold up over time. Has a great warranty. Haven't had any trouble with it. Just a little disappointed that it's TPO and not PVC. Or fiberglass would be awesome, but nobody's doing it. Seems to me to be a little on the lower end. Now, I'm not a professional in this. Brinkley may say there's a reason you'd want TPO over PVC. My gut is PVC is harder to install. The next item I think Brinkley just got completely wrong when they first put these units out, and this includes our unit, though my understanding is they're fixing it now, and that is the inverter prep. It's such a big deal now. Your RV comes with inverter prep. The truth of the matter is, most people buying an RV now are going to put lithium in them, and they're going to want an inverter to run things. The problem with a lot of the inverter preps out there is they're not prepped to provide power to everything. They're prepped to provide power to some outlets, some lights. But if you're someone who's wanting to put in a big battery bank and a big inverter so you can run your microwave, maybe an air conditioner, maybe more than one air conditioner, it's not prepped for that. So if you're like me and you like to really spend some time at Harvest Host or boondocking or whatever, and you want to be able to run your air conditioner some, then you're going to have to ignore all that prep that you've paid for. It's in the RV, and that stuff's not cheap because you're going to have to run totally different wires to interface with the RV so that you have the right size wires and you're wired up to the entire panel so you can run the air conditioners. It can be done. I did it. It took about a weekend. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. But man, if you're paying for inverter prep, just go ahead and have it. Let the user decide if they're going to use it for all the items. Now, my understanding is Brinkley has updated that literally within a week after my unit came off the line. They started wiring the inverter prep to run the main AC. This is the chill cube, which doesn't even need a soft start, which is awesome. And it is amazing how long you can run that on the batteries. But they don't have it where you can run the other bedroom air conditioners, to my understanding. And I have mine rigged up where I can run all three. Not all three at once, but I can run two at a time. And that is sufficient. As much as I'm disappointed in the inverter prep, I'm very impressed with the air conditioner they put in here. This thing's the quietest air conditioner I've ever had in an RV. It's running right now in this room. I can barely hear it. I don't know if you can hear it or not. I can barely hear it. I would never film with the air conditioner on in my old RV. I have noticed I put the camera right under the vent. I'll get wind noise. If I move it away a little bit, it kind of doesn't. I'm a little off now, so it shouldn't be getting any wind noise. But I mean, I can watch TV. I can do everything. And the best part is it drains very little power. So I can run this thing for a long time on our lithium. We can do an overnight easily. And that's pretty amazing. The next thing that's a little awkward is some of the outlet placements. Now, this unit came with their Dinette. That's a desk Dinette. You can move it around to different configurations. It's kind of neat. It's not great. It looks nice. But most of the Dinettes in all these RVs are fine for two people. When you get more than two people, I don't care if it's this one or a different one, they just start to get awkward. And this one's no exception. But I like the way it looks. I like the idea. I like thinking outside the box. I like the functionality. But one of its functionalities is to serve as a desk. Great for that. I've actually been working from there. It's been awesome. The problem is it has one outlet and it's in the middle underneath this little dinette that you pull out and move around. So in almost every configuration, you've covered up the outlet with the desk. So when you sit there to use it as a desk, there's nowhere to plug in. Now they could have cured that by putting an outlet on each end, so it doesn't matter where you have the desk set, it will work, or they could have put it against another wall. They could have done something, but just the placement of the outlet, poor design. The next item that just kind of I think is a poor design issue is the USBs. Now this camper actually has a lot of USBs and micro USB ports, but with the exception of the two USBs over the master bed, they all don't run directly off the 12 volt. They have to be plugged into a wall outlet, and then there's a USB plug in a wall outlet, which works as long as you got your inverter running. It works, but it's inefficient because now you're taking battery 12 volt, you're converting it over to alternating current, and then you're stepping it back down to charge your 12 volt item. You could have just ran USB plugs off the 12 volt, and you're wasting electricity when you convert it to alternating current. Plus, you're building heat when you convert power over to alternating current, and you may not have an inverter. You may not want to run your inverter all the time and still want to be able to plug in your 12 volt accessories, such as charging your camera, your phone, your tablet, whatever. There's so many things we use nowadays that just run off those chargers. All my past RVs had USB ports all over it, and the Lance had them everywhere. So no matter where I was sitting, you can plug your phone in, you can sit up here. Here, we have to kind of search out, where are you gonna plug this in? I can't have my phone with me while it charges because, we're not on power, I don't have the inverter running. Then the two USBs above the bed in the mess room, they're way up there. They're not conveniently down like where you are, because they've got these shelves that are up high, they put the USBs up there. Now, I found that actual shelf to be far more convenient than I thought it would be, so it hasn't been a big hassle, but I don't like reaching up there and plugging stuff in. We actually got the queen bed, so we have nightstands down low as well, but there's no USB, there's no plug-in at that level. Now for one of my least favorite things in this RV, and that is the cheap thermometers they have for the air conditioner. Not this air conditioner right here. It has a little remote. It seems to be fairly handy. It works quite well. But the other two air conditioners have a very basic Furrion thermometer for seeing the temperature. It's kind of wonky. The way you have to run through the settings, it's not very convenient. There's one in the bunk room, there's one in the master bedroom, and then there's a very similar one to run the furnace or heat, and it's out in the hallway. I just find it clunky. I'm really surprised with this cost unit and the technology in this RV that it is so antiquated when it comes to this function compared to even my Lance, which I bought 5 years ago. In my Lance, all that was wired into a common thermostat in the in-command system. What does that mean? I could set timings where air conditioner would come on at certain time, go off at certain time. I could set it to where air would come on if it dropped below, if it got above certain temperature, but if it went below another temperature, it would switch over to heat. I could have it do all those things. I could check it on my Bluetooth from inside the car. I'm driving down the road, we're about to pull over and set up camp. I want to cool it off in the camper. I can flip on the air conditioner, it'd start running, get it kind of cool in there. Also, I could check it if I was out of town and maybe I was coming home and I just wanted to make sure the air was on or work the air, or I had my dogs in here, my waggle alerts me and says, hey, you need to turn the temperature down a little bit. I could do that from the Wi-Fi. None of that functionality here. We have these very antiquated, very unfriendly user pieces of crap thermostats for the air conditioners. It doesn't bother me as much for the heater, but I really think they should be integrated into the system, much like we did in our in-command system in the Lance, where everything was there and you could literally set it. You know, I need my air conditioner to come on Tuesday at 3, or maybe I just want it to come on by different temperature settings, or maybe I log in from my office and turn it on before I get home. Is that too hard? At the same time, there's another problem with these air conditioners, and it's a Furrion issue. When we talk about thermostat, we're talking about the control unit. We're not talking about an actual thermostat, because the sensor for sensing if we're at room temperature or not are actually located in the return of these air conditioners. This leads to something called short cycling. The cold air is blowing out right close to the return, so the return's taking in colder air than you find throughout the RV, and therefore it thinks you've reached temperature before you have, and it turns it off. And then it turns it back on because you haven't, and it senses it's hot, and it runs, and it causes a short cycling, which can be disruptive to your sleep, it can be annoying, and it can keep you from getting a good temperature. Now, we've played with ours a little bit and have gotten it to where it does pretty good. What I've learned is in the bunk room, they've added some vents, so it's ducted. And as long as you close the unit off and make it go through the ducts, it doesn't short cycle near as much. It does pretty well. In the bedroom, you just run it colder than what you normally would, and it will trick it into running it. You know, if you want it to be 72, set it at 68, and it seems to work just fine. And of course, the chill cube unit in here does wonderful, has no problems with it at all. Now, my last issue on design, negatives for the Brinkley, I think they got something totally wrong, isn't really design, it's the lack of options. Now, I know what Brinkley's doing. They're limiting the options, and that allows them to concentrate on making sure things are put together properly with higher quality. The more variables you introduce into the build process, the more mistakes and problems you'll have. It also improves cost. So it helps Brinkley with cost. It helps build a better quality unit to have less options. But some of the things they've decided you can't have an option on is, well, a bad move. And one of those options is slide toppers. These RVs come prepped for a slide topper. They have the rail, they have the place, you can put a slide topper on them. But you can't buy your unit, you can't order your unit with it, which means you're stuck either putting them on yourself or having it done by your dealer. Now, if you've been to a dealer, had work done by a dealer, even on a new RV, you probably don't trust a dealer. I don't. I think they're the weakest point in the RV system, and I'm going to do a whole nother discussion on that on my last video that we're going to do on the Brinkley. But I don't trust the dealer to be putting the holes and doing the stuff, etc. Plus, the way the dealers build this out, they have a set time what it takes to put on a topper, and then they have a that is the man-hour time, and then they have the price for the topper itself. And dealers upcharge the crap out of the cost of that topper, what you can get it for. I understand making a profit margin, but they go way over. They kick you in the ribs when you try to buy something from them. And then the amount of hours is ridiculous, especially since this is topper prepped. It's ready to go. They don't have to put on the rail. Yet they don't subtract that off the time requirement. So you're paying as if Brinkley didn't even have it pre-set up. You're getting a pretty crappy job if it's done by a dealer, and you're paying through the nose for it. And here's the even worse part. Not every dealer has the right toppers. The design of the Brinkley slides, especially the large slide on the camp side and how they have the awning on it, means you have to use a certain topper or it won't fit right. You'll have to do modifications to the camper to allow room for both the topper and the awning. And you can look on Brinkley site, will tell you which topper it is. The problem is a lot of the dealers will say, oh, we don't use that topper. We don't have that topper. So then you're in one less thing. I really think if Brinkley should add the toppers at the factory as an option. I understand not a lot of variables, but I think you can make this one exception. All right, I've been talking fast, and as you notice, those are all pretty nitpicky things. I mean, yeah, that's the only flaws I've seen so far from a design and feature asset. But our next video will be a little bit more hard-hitting because we're going to talk about what went right, what didn't, what was wrong with the camper when I picked it up, what kind of warranty issues have we had, how did this camper do in the stress of driving, up to 12,000 feet or across the desert. I'll give you all that and you'll know. I think that's stuff I'd want to know before I spent the kind of money they want for this RV. If you're thinking about a Brinkley and you come to Indiana, or maybe you're thinking about an Alliance or Grand Design or any other people who manufacture their product in Indiana to see maybe the tour of the facility, how they're built, etc., I recommend you call Kevin and Angie over at Happy Acres Campground. This place is fabulous. It's literally one of my favorite campgrounds. It's our second time here this summer, and we are just loving it. Also, our good friends Patrick and Patty from Travels Delaney are here, and we love getting to spend some time with them. Thanks for watching. Keep in mind we got other travel stuff that we'll put on here. It really helps us out if you went ahead and like and subscribe. We've been told some subscribers are falling off, so if you'll just subscribe back, check see if you're subscribe back. That'd be very helpful. We also have our other channels. We'll put some links for that. We're still doing European and international trips. We have a ton of stuff coming out on Christmas markets. We have a ton of stuff coming out on some other trips we did, and even some of our Japan stuff, and we're even headed back to Japan. So we look forward to doing that, and we've got some great RV trips planned. We get videos out of the trips we just did, and we'll be doing some more in the future. See you next time.